Hi, everyone, and welcome to our 2021 Self-Direction Virtual Conference Series. My name is Casey DeLuca, and I'm the Director of Membership and Conferences for Applied Self-Direction. I'm so excited for our session today featuring the Alliance for Citizen-Directed Support. I'm going to run through just a few quick housekeeping issues before we begin. You can submit your questions and comments at any time during the session by using the Q&A pod in the lower left-hand corner of the Adobe Room. If you experience any audio or technical issues during today's presentation, you can send us a message, again, by either using that Q&A pod, or you can email us at info@appliedselfdirection.com. We are fortunate today to have a panel of 3 speakers from the Alliance for Citizen-Directed Support, including Marian Fratarola-Celino, Lateef McLeod, and DJ Savarese. So without further ado, I will turn things over to DJ to get us started.
Next slide, please. We've done all the hard foundational work, and now we want to invite each of you to come and be an essential part of ensuring that self-direction is the foundation of each of our journeys. After introducing ourselves at the Alliance, we'll ask you what you think are some essential next steps and how you plan to join us to make them possible. Next slide, please. I'm DJ Savarese. I've recently become co-chair of the Alliance and have taken the lead on designing and seeking funding for our Lives in Progress project. I joined the Alliance working toward not to add to my team, but to make a difference in the lives of my people.
Good afternoon. I am Lateef McLeod, and I am a board member for the Alliance for Citizen-Directed Support, and I will present to you today on our mission and the success of our webinars. I joined the Alliance because I feel that it is important for people with disabilities that have all the directed support services that they need to live lives that they desire. So that is why I do this work.
Good afternoon. My name is Marian Fratarola-Celino. I'm one of the founders of the Alliance for Citizen-Directed Support and currently serve as co-chair along with DJ. I also work as part of a community service organization supporting people in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Next slide, please. Thank you all for joining us today. We're going to begin our session by talking about who we are. So as I mentioned before, I am one of the founders, along with Caitlin Bailey, Gail Godwin, and Nancy Weiss, together around the year 2015, which seems like a lifetime ago, had this idea of creating an organizational home for people using self-direction and their allies and supporters. And that idea kind of rattled around, and we really thought about organizing across the country people who were interested in advancing self-direction and really having, as I said, an organizational home that was dedicated exclusively to promoting, educating, and improving self-direction for everyone. Next slide, please. As we established the Alliance, our goal of creating a cause-based, not constituency-based, Membership Association remained very vivid as we began planning. And Caitlin, Gail, and Nancy and I were involved with a group called the National Partnership for Full Inclusion, and this was around 2015-16, when unfortunately there was an emerging consideration of funding and supporting segregated and separated communities such as farms and gated housing developments. And the National Partnership brought together people from around the country to talk about how to not have that happen. And so there were many activities as part of that group, and one of the work groups really focused on the need, again, for this organizational home that was really dedicated to educating and supporting the shift in our in the disability service system away from places that separated people. And so in 2015, the Alliance was incorporated, and over the course of the next several years, along with a founding committee and later a founding board that was elected in 2017, the incubation of this idea really came to life and came to fruition. And so the Alliance, as it is today, continues as an all-volunteer board, which I'll talk about in a little bit, to really just look at issues related to self-direction, primarily from the lens of the people who are using it or the people who want to use it. So we're really about bringing together all of the stakeholders, but really following the lead of people who identify as disabled and either are using self-direction in the states where they live, or they aspire to do so and need information, resources, and support to do so. And the Alliance seeks to continue to grow to be able to support that. Next slide, please, for Latif to talk about our mission.
Our mission as an organization is to make sure opportunities are available for people with disabilities to lead fully included lives in their community under their own direction through using direct support. We pride ourselves on giving information to folks so they have more options than living in an institution or group home setting. Since the founding of our board in 2017, we have been working so people with disabilities can decide where they live, who they live with, how they spend their days, and what supports that they need to live in the community. As a group, we also advocate for policy that benefits the disability community to be more empowered. We disseminate information on direct support services for anyone who needs the information. Our organization brings together people with disabilities, our family members, direct support professionals, and advocates, among others, who are all committed to give people with disabilities the opportunity to live autonomous and fully included lives. We encourage people of all abilities, ethnicities, genders, sexual orientation, and classes to join our membership as we continue our organization goals. We have a dedicated board who believe in our mission and to the hard work to make that mission succeed. We are currently advocating for directed support to activities like our Lives in Progress initiative and our webinars. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Latif. So the timeline of the Alliance, to give you all some context that I mentioned before, this idea simmered around 2015 as Caitlin and Gail and Nancy and I, all coming from different perspectives within the service system, but realizing we were not users of the system, and so we really needed to expand our own thinking and our own experiences around starting this organization. So thankfully, a committee of founders representing all system stakeholders came together and really started to lay the groundwork of incorporating and lifting an organization. And I know that I can't say enough about that time period. This organization was started and continues to be led by people who volunteer. As Lateef noted, it's a dedicated board. It is then as it was now, with really the sole focus of making this organization authentic to its purpose and its mission. And those of you who are part of organizations, no matter what part of an organization you reside in, if you're dedicated and you're committed to adapting and really being responsive to those who use the service, it requires a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And we're living in a time, obviously, where there are multiple priorities. And so we call these the early years of the Alliance, but really, as I said before, it feels like a lifetime ago. And, as we look back now, and we came through our current strategic planning session a few months back, it's really with a lot of pride, but also with the realization that there is so much work yet to be done as we move through and emerge from this global pandemic. So you can see on the slide, and this will be available to you, in the early days and years, if you will, it was really about getting the word out. A lot of us thought, the last thing the world needs is another membership association, but we also realized, through our participation in the National Partnership for Full Inclusion, that there definitely needed to be more of an emphasis, and information needed to be more transparent and accessible about the options and opportunities that self-direction does provide for people and their families and supporters. And so we need to thank the countless self-advocates who joined and who challenged us to really build the organization authentically with leadership by disabled people and with disabled people. And that took time, and it continues to challenge us, but it also continues to make us the organization we are today. And through 2018, there were also national organizations like Applied Self-Direction who believed in us, supported the idea, and gave us opportunities to spread the word and to be part of the national conversation. And for that, we are incredibly grateful. Next slide, please. Even throughout the unexpected onset of COVID-19, and because of it, it became more and more apparent the need for people and their chosen allies to be in control. And DJ will talk much more eloquently than I ever could about some of the realities and the impact of that, and how that is really driving a lot of our current work. So the initiatives that were started and have continued throughout 2020 into 2021 are things like the Resource Hub, which will sit as part of our website and will be an accessible place for people to come and not just get information on self-direction, but ways to connect with other Alliance members, but also to be able to reach out with other people committed to self-direction as well. A lot of our efforts now, especially with the onset of COVID-19, is really helping our members identify the local, regional, and state groups that they can become a part of to influence local policies and state policies that hopefully will change in response to what we have learned throughout this time. Always we look to grow our membership, and so we're very optimistic today with you joining the session, and we look forward to answering questions and to inviting you to be a part of this growing movement. We are also working on a national network of sports brokerages because, again, we realize that it's typically not a service yet that is readily recognized and as part of other membership organizations. So we're very much interested in growing that and in supporting support brokers independently in states, but also supports brokerages. So there's a number of things, and you know, DJ and Lateef will talk about some of the other projects. So going forward, again, we are very optimistic and look forward to building this movement with support from you. Next slide, please. So our current organizational priorities remain as they have on really the diversity of our board as leaders of the organization, but also the diversity of our membership. We are very much committed to the authenticity of the inclusion and of following the lead of people who identify as disabled and very much focused, even more so now than ever before, on intersectional justice and making sure that that sits at the center of all of the Alliance's activities, which again are performed by all volunteers, many of whom are leaders in other areas of their work and of their lives. And so we have organized into committees that we will show you next and describe for you a little bit about what each of those committees does. So next slide, please. So these are our committees through 2022, and DJ will talk about the Full Inclusion Fund now.
As funds become available, the Full Inclusion Committee offers micro grants to people with disabilities who are either self-directing their services or working towards self-directing their services. Capped at $500 each, the micro grants are intended to supplement funding available through waivers and personal income. Board member Lydia Brown notes that $300 made it possible for someone to stay in a motel for a week to escape an abuser, $400 made it possible for someone else to travel out of state for a court date, and $500 makes it possible for someone to escape homelessness, start college in another state, or obtain needed medical treatment. Other expenses related to self-direction that may qualify for a micro grant include fees related to switching your agency or hiring support staff, moving costs for a new place to live, paying for adaptive technology that will help you have more control over your space, or paying for a weekend retreat to go on your own. Robert, an Alliance member and past recipient, wrote, quote, "It changed my life when I no longer had to go to a day program or a group home. Instead, thanks to self-direction, I am living my life, not someone else's idea of what my life should be. That's why the Full Inclusion Fund is so important." End quote.
Thank you, DJ. I talked a bit earlier about some of the initiatives, and our Membership Engagement and Communication Committee, with support, some support from a paid consultant, helps us to refine our communications. We put out an update, bi-monthly updates, where we really try to collect things that are happening across the country and relate it to self-direction so that our members can see that this isn't something that sits aside, but rather something that can be incorporated into their day-to-day lives and certainly any and all of the planning that they are doing. So the Resource Hub, again, this committee, it's a lot of hands-on. We took time and finally have landed on a platform that we think is going to work, because accessibility is always the number one consideration. And DJ will talk about Lives in Progress. The directory of supports brokerages is something that we, again, are actively working on. 15 states have responded thus far, and it's really exciting to think about building this. I talked a bit about the helping members to identify more local opportunities to express and have their leadership impact local policies and practices. So this is a really, really important committee with lots of activities, and it's where we often find we need the most support because a lot of these tasks are time-consuming and require expertise that we may not readily have at the moment. So we're always looking for people who are interested in sharing their talents and have some time to share. Next slide, please. The Development Fundraising and Recruitment Committee, we have really been focusing on sourcing grants and foundation support because we are not an organization that is implementing or delivering services, and that's not something we plan to do. So therefore, it's always about looking for alternative means of revenue to support the activities. And really, as you heard from DJ, a really important initiative is that Full Inclusion Fund. We have really felt the impact from members who have been on the receiving end of that. It's extremely impactful, and we want to continue to grow that and to be able to have that affect more people. And then finally, the Public Policy and Political Action. This is our newest committee, and this comes obviously as a result of many, many changes to our society, which impacts not just our community, but all of the communities in which we all live. And people with disabilities need to be at the proverbial table when these changes to policy are being made. And so we've been invited to consider being a part of the Home and Community-Based Services Advisory Coalition, the National Center on Advancing Person-Centered Practices and Systems. And again, our friends and colleagues at Applied Self-Direction have invited us to meet regularly with them so that we can partner and work together on issues affecting self-direction and our community. So we hope we've generated some interest with all of you in describing briefly some of the work that we're doing and attempting to do. And I'm going to turn it over to Lateef now to talk about webinars. That's another really important way we communicate. So Lateef, next slide.
We see our webinars as an opportunity to showcase how directed supports work by showcasing individuals who use directed support to live independently. At our webinars, we usually have presenters who have directed support services in place and lead engaging lives in their community. I was a presenter at one of these webinars, and I highlighted how I learned to manage my attendance when I went to college and how I arranged my direct support for my living situation now. The feedback that I received from people that attended and viewed my webinar was that it was informative and helpful, and I am delighted it had that effect. We had other webinars from board members, such as DJ Salvarezi, who gave another great presentation. In Mr. Salvarezi's webinar, we had a screening of his award-winning documentary, which depicts him learning how to become an independent young man attending college. Another committee member, Edward Willard, who has cerebral palsy as I do, did his webinar on how he liberated himself from being institutionalized and dedicated the rest of his life to make sure he and other people had the directed support to lead independent lives. Some community members also volunteered to share their experience in a webinar as well. Caroline Signori, who is a quadriplegic, did a webinar for us where she discussed her living situation and how she succeeded in her life with direct supports. All our webinars are on our YouTube page if you want to view them. We hope that these webinars encourage more people with disabilities to arrange their own directed support. Our webinars are a great way for us as an organization to gain more members and community support to accomplish our mission. Thank you, and I will now pass it off to my colleague, board member Next slide, please.
Lives in Progress is an exciting new project we're currently seeking to fund. Lives in Progress will build an interactive national map of diverse, documented paths to meaningful, self-directed lives in progress that allows people to search for resources, practical ideas, and real-life examples by geographic location, interests, talents, and vocations. The Alliance believes that everyone deserves the opportunity to live a self-determined life, connected to their chosen communities. The forced isolation of disabled adults has long been dire, but COVID-19 has equalized this reality. This is not simply a quality of life issue. For the disabled, self-determination is a matter of life or death. Never have the lived realities of the disabled community been more evident. Until now, disabled adults have largely relied on luck and personal networks to figure out self-direction. These struggles are compounded for the multiply marginalized and alternatively communicating. Currently, individual disabled mentors offer one-on-one advice and counsel, yet this inefficient model relies heavily on free labor from the most impacted. Mentors are forced to recreate the wheel each time. Lives in Progress proposes an alternative to segregation and fear. Social services, resources, and laws can vary greatly from state to state. We will offer a database that is sensitive to these differences and share resources that will allow disabled people to move to a new state, attend college out of state, or apply for employment opportunities. We will complement with virtual, live community, including accessible webinars taught by self-advocates and fresh-thinking allies, and opportunities for one-on-one and small group mentoring. The project will be led by and serve the disabled and their fresh-thinking allies, encouraging the disabled to create life journeys of their own making, to disrupt the status quo, and to imagine new possibilities for their lives. Our online database with mentors and tools will enable the disabled to find the necessary resources to become self-efficacious members of their communities. Next slide, please. Operating from a rights-based perspective, Lives in Progress will dismantle common barriers to access, including communication, cost, and cultural misassumptions. This project is partly inspired by and based on the principles of language justice, a movement for inclusion which states that all people have the right to speak, to be heard. With this in mind, Lives in Progress will be free and available in multimodal formats, augmentative communication, American Sign Language, and spoken language. To ensure the greatest access and use, the database will be offered online to all and promoted in centrally located areas with free internet access, especially public libraries, high schools, community colleges, four-year colleges and universities, social service agencies, and relevant community organizations. We plan to pilot the project in 5 states before extending it to all 50 states. California and Iowa will be 2 of the states. We are still determining what the other 3 states will be. Next slide, please. If the Lives in Progress project is successful, the world will be better off because nobody will be disposable. The disabled will build community with one another and become the leaders in defining what's possible in their own lives. The disabled will be visible, especially for members in their local communities. Mentors will be properly paid for their time, lived experience, and innovative expertise. Self-direction will be commonplace, and segregation will become obsolete. Living standards and lifespan will increase for the disabled, while instances of suicide and suicide will sharply decrease. Violent progress will become an essential tactic to the disability justice movement as a model of collective disabled that work across race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and geographic location. How can you become an essential part of this new project? Please consider sharing your story with us, identifying mentors in your state, spreading the word, becoming a partner organization or member, generating enough interest and engagement in your state to be one of the 3 additional states in which we pilot the project, donating or helping identify interested donors. Next slide, please. Thank you. As we open up the session to answer whatever questions you might have for us, we would also love to hear from you. Specifically, how could the Alliance best meet your needs regarding self-direction? And what interests and skills can you contribute toward the future of this growing organization?
Great. Well, thank you so much. This is Casey. I will jump in to start taking some questions. We've received some questions through the Q&A during the presentation, but just a reminder, if you have any other questions or comments, you can submit them by using that Q&A pod in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And those questions that DJ asked, they're available as polls on the screen as well. So we would love for you to share your response to those questions. Okay, so the first question, what does it mean to be a member?
Thank you, Casey. This is Marion. So DJ and Latif, please let me know how you want to best organize the responses to these questions. And thanks to the participants for filling the chat with your questions. It seems as though we have generated interest, and that was our goal today. So thank you for the question. So we'll just take a minute to group around how to respond.
So while they're doing that, you may have seen if you follow us on LinkedIn that actually one attendee from today's session is going to win a $50 Amazon gift card from one of our conference sponsors, ACRA. So let me just pull that up real quick while we figure out the best way to answer the question. Okay, good luck everybody. Okay, so Ricky Grant. Congratulations, you won the gift card from ACRA. So I'll follow up with you after the webinar with more information about that.
Okay, so Casey, as long as everybody's okay with going out of order, which is kind of fun, DJ will answer question number 5.
Okay.
DJ?
Sounds great. So let me pull that up and read it to the group.
Okay, Casey, 1 minute. Sorry, I'm getting, we're communicating in the chat, the presenter chat. So,
Okay.
Lateef will answer question 1. Lateef, do you want to answer that now?
I am still typing E. It's
Okay, this is Marion. So Lateef is going to answer question 1. DJ is going to answer question 5. That's what we know for now. So I will do my best to answer those other questions until we know what else is coming up. Okay. So number 2 is how many members do we have? So we have about, and I say about because it fluctuates. The pandemic, as we all can imagine, has greatly impacted people's ability to do a lot of things, and having to make hard choices about where to spend the hard-earned money that we do have. So we are at about 150 members right now. That is some organizations, but it is mostly people who identify as disabled and their family members, and also direct support professionals and support and service professionals, people working within the self-directed or self-direction systems in various states. So we are making efforts now to reduce membership fee in this time, and really from the outset we didn't want one's ability to pay to affect their membership. So it's an evolving process, and we could always use expertise in this area. I mean, running membership organizations is, it's a lot of work, and there are professional skill sets and expertise that we could certainly benefit from. So right now, our membership is growing, but we are working with people to really make sure that they're okay with paying, and that coincides with, kind of what we're offering right now to members, and a lot of that is being built. The Resource Hub, Lives in Progress. So you will hear all of us talk a lot. We don't use the term sweat equity, but a lot of it is, if people are interested, and as we said, if people have, talent, skills, expertise that they're willing to share, and they've got some time to share it, we are always open and greatly appreciative of being able to work with folks in coming on board and helping us to build this. So I hope that makes sense. We can give more specific information if you're interested, but we hope that information helps. DJ is ready to respond to question number 5. So DJ.
And I can read the question. Question number 5 is, if I want to provide my experiences for the national map, how can I get involved?
Casey, next slide, please. If you're interested in having your story included in Lives in Progress, please email me, DJ Savarese, at the email address on the screen. Looking forward to hearing you.
Okay. Thanks, DJ. Number 4, when is your next webinar, and do I need to register? Our next webinar is in the stages of being planned. We actually have the benefit of a student intern who is helping us to develop a content calendar, and our board will be working on either facilitating webinars or asking people in their network to facilitate webinars on topics related to self-direction. So again, this is something that if you're interested in joining the Alliance, there are opportunities for members to talk about parts of their lives. Like Lateef has shared, there are members who have talked about their own experiences using self-direction. We have members, organizational members, who have talked about their experiences in supporting self-direction. So I want to tie this response also to the question number 6, which is specific ways that FMS entities can support our organization. And thank you for that question, because we have been talking about ways to outreach to FMS organizations and to see about opportunities where we can work together, we can collaborate, cooperate on reaching the people you're serving in ways that that work together. And so for an FMS organization, maybe you come on and you talk about the services that you offer to people. And it's a way for you to get known to people who are either interested in taking control of their services or people who are. And so that's just, one opportunity. There's also the Resource Hub, as we mentioned, is currently being built. And that will house information, and currently we are looking to organize it by state. We are also building that National Directory of Supports Brokerages, and as we know, support brokers and FMS personnel need to work in tandem with the person. And so we just see numerous ways to have our missions intersect. So we'd be very interested in continuing that conversation, but hopefully you get a sense of how we could use your expertise and your support, and that we could be helpful to you as well. And Lateef is ready.
Okay, so question for you, Lateef. What does it mean to be a member?
You can find instructions for becoming a member on our website. But besides paying your dues when you become a member, you can always join one of our committees and help us with our policy committee or our other committees. We always are looking for more people to help do the work.
Okay. And Casey, thanks for leaving the questions up that have yet to be answered. So DJ and Lateef, again, if there's any of the remaining questions that you want to answer, just let us know. I'm thinking one of you would be best to answer question number 8.
Yeah, and I think DJ's ready to answer number 3.
Got it.
How
okay.
does someone apply for the full inclusion fund? Are there rules about how the funding can be used?
Check out the Full Inclusion Fund on our website. Specific guidelines about what funds can be used for can be found there. We are currently fundraising for our next batch of micro grants. Becoming a member ensures you'll find out as soon as the next round opens.
Question number 7, do you have any in-person conferences planned, I believe, for 2021? Wow, just the thought of an in-person event, that's exciting. Never thought we'd be saying that. We need another conference, right? But wow. We do not have anything in person planned at this time, but we do see that this is one of the many areas, again, where like-minded allies and those seeking to be allies can intersect. So, for example, with Applied Self-Direction, now that we have set up a consistent, meeting time and we're updating each other on initiatives and ideas and priorities, Casey and Molly, I'm sure we would love to talk about that question along with you. So, again, one of the things about this organization is that ideas, as long as they support self-direction, are always welcome. And our board meets frequently. Work meetings happen throughout the month. Committees are meeting throughout the month. And then a strategic session takes place once a month for a more extended period of time. And we consider any and all ideas that benefit and advance self-direction. So again, as we keep saying, we would love to have you all join and let's begin to organize these conversations and have them translate into action. So thank you. Okay, let's see. So we still have question number 8, which involves somebody who is an AAC user, DJ, and Lateef, we want to follow your lead on that in terms of how the Alliance could potentially help this particular person and their family. So I'll leave that. Question number 9. Are we working with CMS in the education of how self-directed services need to be funded? A state should not say they offer self-directed waivers and then only offer funding for one waiver service. Yes, I would love to help with this platform and share a narrative of how this has created barriers in my life. Well, I believe I would speak for DJ, Lateef, and the entire Alliance board when I say we would love to have you help us with this. The challenge for the Alliance has been, again, being all volunteer at this point, and there being many other fabulous national organizations, many of whom are dedicated as Applied Self-Direction, dedicated exclusively to self-direction. But there are others that, even though it isn't their sole mission, it is definitely a pillar of the work that they do. And so for us, it's really about finding ways not to duplicate or in any way replicate work that has been done or work that our colleagues are currently doing, but more so how can we adjunct that, and how can the voice of people actually using self-directed services, or people who aspire to do that, people who are leading their own lives maybe without any level of paid support or publicly paid support, be at the forefront. So please follow up with us, or give Casey and Molly permission for us to contact you, and we will definitely do so. So we realize that the question number 8 still has yet to be answered. So we'll give DJ and Lateef time to consider responding to that. In that space, what we can do is thank you all for the responses to the questions that we asked you. So realizing that there's only a few minutes left in the session, Casey and Molly, we can definitely work to respond to these questions and statements that people have put forward. And we want to say again how much we appreciate people taking the time not only to participate in the session today, but for your thoughtfulness in putting forward these questions and information. I'm just
sure. And so, Marion, I think DJ can respond to 8. Although I will go back to your other question about the conferences, and just to say that Applied Self-Direction would love for you and everyone on the phone to attend our in-person conference, which we have scheduled for the beginning of April 2022. So just a little plug in there for that, and we'll be starting to advertise that soon. But we are also just very excited about the chance to be meeting in person and bringing together the self-direction community again.
Thanks. I know
so DJ, I think you're ready for number 8. I can read that out loud for folks. My son is an AAC user and self-directs his life, but with few self-directed services being supported in his waiver, our family is trying to educate and change policy in our waivers in Alabama. How can the Alliance help us with this?
Please contact me and we'll set up a time to brainstorm some of the connections we have nationally to contact. We don't currently have connections in Alabama, so we're eager to have you on board.
Casey, I think, with only a few minutes left, don't know if DJ and Lateef want to say anything to close. But certainly, for me, being a part of this organization and a part of this presentation, really appreciate, again, being a part of it, being invited to be a part of it, and working to create this presentation, which, again, in this kind of brave new world, it was interesting and it was fun, and we hope it was informative. And it looks like from the questions and other information the participants have put forward, it's really the start of a good conversation that will lead to action around this important topic. So thank you.
Well, I wait to see if DJ or Lateef would like to say anything. Just on behalf of us at Self-Direction, I want to thank the 3 of you for sharing this information about the Alliance. We really value the partnership that we have with the Alliance, and we're looking forward to continuing to work together and to grow the Alliance. DJ and Lateef, would you like to say any closing remarks before we wrap up?
Thank you. Please be in touch. And many thanks to ASD for their support.
Thank you for having us present what we are working on at the Alliance currently.
Great. Thank you both very much. Thank you all for attending and for your great questions. And we hope to see you in our future sessions. We have 3 more weeks left of the virtual conference and a lot more great sessions to offer. So thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.